Welcome to the Ready, Set, Realtor series, your step-by-step guide through the real estate transaction process. Let's get started.
Next, I'd like to introduce our first instructor, Jane Borgen. She has been in the real estate industry for over 21 years, starting as the North San Diego County Association of Realtors Education Director, and moving on to a training position with the title industry covering all the surrounding counties. Jane moved from title to CRMLS 15 years ago and loves her job as a lead systems trainer. Her work is to understand the needs of realtors utilizing CRMLS tools and help guide them through the understanding of the software. Not only does Jane enjoy helping others, but she also loves her team at CRMLS and the entire CRMLS family. A little fun fact about Jane, as she's been a runner for the past 45 years. So if we can put our hands together for Jane.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let me just get situated here. So how many of you are brand new? Brand new. So what I want to talk about are some of your tools here. And I'm starting off on your dashboard, which I'm sure all of you have gone in. You've logged into the MLS. And you see all of these tools on my dashboard, such as down payment resource, cloud CMA. Do you guys all know where to access those tools? Oh, you know what? The Wi-Fi, what's the Wi-Fi, guys? It's right back here on the wall. Okay. All right. So initially, when you go into your dashboard, the only product that you see there is Matrix. And that's basically where you do your everyday searching, create your CMAs, add a listing. But all of those products that I've added to my dashboard, you see the little plus sign over here on the right side. It says Manage Apps. All of those products are your core products, which means there's no additional charge for any of those products. And we do encourage you to kind of decide which would work best for your business. And that's kind of our goal this morning, is to touch on some of those products so you understand what their purpose is. Yes. So these are for agents. Yep, these are for agents. Now, as example, if I want to see Cloud CMA on my dashboard, I just simply mark that with a gold star. But first, what I'm going to do, I want to go into Matrix, which I'm sure you've all gone into Matrix before, and to mention that this is the first place that you land. Now, one of those widgets on your dashboard, I want to talk about that for just a minute, because it's really important to know what's going on in your market area. Does anybody know on that dashboard what you would use to jump in there? First thing you do, you're like, hey, what's going on in the market? The Market Watch widget. And you can see my Market Watch widget is right there smack in the middle. And I know agents every day, the first thing they do when they go into their MLS, they check their Market Watch to see what's going on in their area. Now, when you go in there, it's going to default to the entire CRMLS footprint, which means that's a large area. We're talking about Northern California, San Diego County, and you don't really care about that whole area, right? You want to focus on what's going on in those cities that you focus in, Temecula, Murrieta, all those surrounding cities. So you would customize that Market Watch widget to just those cities that you focus in. And it's real simple. I'm not going to go through all the steps of everything. I kind of just want to touch on items, and then you can always reach out for help. But basically, I've got my Market Watch set. I'm watching Anaheim Hills, Yorba Linda. I'm not concerned really about price, beds, baths, because this is going to be my overall view of the area. So when you go into your system, you can easily see from that Market Watch, going back however many days you have it set, hey, what's going on in the market? How many new listings? What's had a price change? That's that great overview. Yeah. You could add as many cities as you want to. Absolutely. And I also want to mention too, we do training, we do one-to-one sessions. So you can always reach out if you need help on any of these tools. But what I want to do, guys, I want to drop in there and just do a search, because I want to talk for just a moment about down payment resource. That is one of your products. I'm going to search in the city of Temecula. All right, pull that up. I don't want Temescal Canyon Valley. Let's take that out. Does anybody know what down payment resource is? Has anybody used it? I'm going to do a search for everything in Temecula that's $850 or less, $850 and below. Now, when you drop in there, at the very end of that Agent 1 line, let's take a look at that. You all see that little icon? It's the $ with the check. What is that in reference to? Does anybody know? Okay, it's been around for a long time. It means that those properties qualify for down payment assistance. And so in the back end, we associate with a company called Down Payment Resource. They're the only company in the United States that has a database of all of the down payment financing programs, over 2,500 programs. Roughly 300 of those, more than 300 actually, are here in the state of California. So the process is this: when a listing goes active in CRMLS, if it qualifies for down payment assistance, that icon is added by the company Down Payment Resource. So you can then click on that icon and you can see all of the programs that that particular property qualifies for. And so the reason I bring this up, and look at this, there's a lot of programs. That database is always current. So if there's, a program that's out of funds, it's going to be listed there. But what we have with Down Payment Resource, I'm going to go back to your dashboard. See that icon right there, Down Payment Resource? You guys have a free lead generator within Down Payment Resource. Okay. So I'm going to go into that program, Down Payment Resource. And let's get out of there. All right. So right there on the home page, don't have to log in. You don't need to create an account. You all have an account created for you. And the reason I bring this up is there's a free lead generator. Mine's right there. It says, here's your landing page. So the purpose of that is for you to capture information on folks that are looking to see, do they qualify for down payment assistance? Okay, you guys think that would be helpful? All right. So there's mine right there. Now, if I click on that, this is what it's going to take. It's going to say, hey, down payment money is out there. Let's see if you're eligible. They will go through the steps here. They'll fill out all the information. It's going to prompt them, how do they want to be contacted? That lead is sent back to you. And in turn, they get a list of all the programs that they qualify for. Okay. So that's a great tool. I want to mention also, now you could use that in your email signature. Do y'all know how to do that? Copy that link, put it in your email signature. You might put some text in there like, see if you qualify for down payment assistance, whatever. But there's all the marketing resources, that green button right below. I'm going to open that up. And this kind of takes you through the steps. So it's going to give you kind of a step-by-step there of how you would add it to your email signature. I've seen agents that are actually using a couple of those different icons on their website, right? So you can put that on your website. Remember, that landing page goes directly to your unique landing page. So you can capture leads that way. And it gets better. There's social media links as you go down. So these have already been created for you. You can use these social media links and have those attached to your landing page. Right? Does it make sense, you guys? Okay, yes. No, it's you. You know what it's going to do? There's no lender involvement. It will take them, it'll say next steps. They can just basically see a list of what lenders actually are associated with that type of a program. So it's kind of just saying, hey, you do qualify for down payment assistance. Here's how much you qualify for. Here's all the lenders in your area that handle these programs. But now you've captured that lead. And also keep in mind, guys, when you email listings out, that's attached to the listing. So if a program, or if a listing rather, qualifies for down payment assistance, your clients can see, hey, this particular property qualifies for down payment assistance. So it's going to be of benefit for you to already know that ahead of time, in case they reach out and say, hey, you didn't tell me. I can see, do I qualify for any down payment help on this property? So you kind of look at that ahead of time before you're sharing those listings out. All right. Another thing to mention here before I move on, you can actually go in, maybe you're going to list a property, you can actually go into the DPR pricing tool to see if that property does qualify for down payment assistance. Okay. All right. Moving on. Cloud CMA. How many of you use Cloud CMA? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. You could type in any address and it will come up and say, yes, this particular property qualifies for all of these programs. Yep. Absolutely. Pardon me? You know what? I don't know all the programs. I just know, 300, over 300 in, I don't know the specific program. So you'd have to kind of dig a little deeper in there. I just know how to use the tool, but beyond that, I don't know. Okay. All right. Moving on to Cloud CMA. How many of you guys use Cloud CMA? Been around for many, many years. And within Cloud CMA, I'm going to go ahead and open mine up. There's also a free lead generator there. But I also want to mention in regards to Cloud CMA. Now you have your CMA over in Matrix, which not so pretty. It's kind of old, honestly. It's blah. But with Cloud CMA, how many of you are using that kind of interactive live presentation with your CMAs? Anybody that raised their hand that's using Cloud, are you using that live presentation? So when you go in and you create that CMA in Cloud, I mean, it's great to go out, hand somebody, you know, hey, here's your CMA. I'm handing you that little packet that I created. But when you can go through and actually use this live presentation that's automatically created within Cloud CMA, you can start them through that presentation and you can show those comps and kind of really dig in there, share all the photos. So think about that next time you're going in to create a CMA. Use that Cloud CMA to create that live, kind of more interactive CMA. Right. All right, back to the lead generator in Cloud. Anybody using that? Free lead generator in Cloud CMA. So when you go into Cloud CMA, you are going to have to create an account. And notice up here, my initials in the top right, JB's right up there. I go in down to lead generation. So from your top right corner, once you create that account, you go down to lead generation. And this is a free lead generator tool. And so basically, here's that landing page. I'm going to open that a little bit bigger. It says, what's my home worth? So the purpose of this, for you to share your landing page, no yawning. They're going to go in, somebody that's interested, hey, what's my home worth? They're going to put their address in. They're going to capture that information at Cloud CMA, send that back to you, the agent. And then you have two choices. Would you guys rather Cloud CMA send out a CMA, or would you rather reach out yourself? Right, I probably would want to reach out myself because we want to know what's what's Cloud CMA sending out. So if you're planning to use that lead generator, you can copy that link. You could put that in your email signature. But as you go down towards the bottom, you can embed to your website. There's the code, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. But this little box right here where it says notifications. Now, by default, that box is checked. What I would do, what you guys all said most likely you would do, you'd uncheck that box. So you'll still capture that lead, but then you can reach out with that CMA. Right? There's no save button there. It's just either check or uncheck. By default, it's checked. Right? Any questions so far? Right. Let's go back. Let me ask, how many of you have set up your profile in Showing Time? How many of you love Showing Time? How many hate Showing Time? So really, really important. And keep in mind too, you can turn Showing Time off completely. I see listings in there all the time where, you know, Showing Time icon is there, and then you go down to showing instructions that says, do not use Showing Time. So if you don't want to use Showing Time, guys, by all means, turn it off. So then that icon will not show. Because if I see that icon, I'm going to assume I can just schedule my showing right here. You have that choice. You can either turn it off completely, or you could do it per listing. Totally up to you. So if you don't like Showing Time, just turn it off. Yes. Yes. Oh. You know what? And so what would you do? I would turn that automated call off because nobody wants that. So let's go into Showing Time just for a moment. Let's talk about that. I'm going to go into Showing Time. And I encourage you guys, go in there, get your profile set up. But most importantly, decide, how do I want to use Showing Time? I don't want to be bothered by that automated voice. So you go into Showing Time. You all have an account created. And all you have to do is go here to edit your profile. Easy as that. Now, if I decide, hey, you know what? I do not want Showing Time, period. I can just say no there. Allow agents to request appointments online. No, that means on all of my listings, Showing Time will not appear. Right? So if you hate Showing Time, turn it off. Or you can do it per listing. But if you want to turn off that showing voice, watch. I go on down and I go to, let's find that. right here, notifications for appointments. I've turned off that call. So that means I don't want that automated. No, but do you want the automated? Oh, I see. Oh, you love the calls. Okay, I misunderstood. How about if you were to add a mass note to all your listings? You see right there below the calendar sync, it says mass add listing note. So you could either add from the predefined notes, or you could add your own note, or you could do that per listing as well. So, I mean, that's good to know right there, right? I'm sorry. It doesn't let you change the appointment. Now that one, I haven't dug that deep, so honestly, I don't know the answer to that one. But if you wanted to change the appointment, can't you just reach out? I mean, you could just reach out and kind of go back in there and change the appointment time. You know what? Email me or call me and we'll jump on a Zoom and we'll talk about it. All right. I'm going to go into RPR. I want to show you a really neat little tool in here to share some market trends. How many use RPR? My gosh, I love RPR. It's been around many, many, many years. So RPR is created by the National Association of Realtors based on parcel data across the United States. And many agents use it for prospecting, as you can see right there in the guided tours. Great prospecting tool. Great for CMAs. They have some lovely reports in there. So now I've just told you 3 different options for creating a CMA. What were they? First one's matrix. What's the second one? Cloud. Third one, RPR, right? Because think about this. RPR talks to the MLS in the background. So it's going to pull in those active listings, what's pending and so forth. And you're able to create that CMA here within RPR. Very nice report. But if you have a client that's searching in another state and they say, hey, give me an idea of some homes, what's the pricing and so forth, you could search here in RPR. Because remember, it's based on parcel data from across the United States. But let's do this. Let's go here to guided tours. And this is the part I love about RPR. So you go from your dashboard, right? So I added RPR to my dashboard. It's right there, okay? And you are going to have to create an account over here in RPR. So on the guided tours on the homepage, if I know nothing about RPR, I jump in there and I think, okay, take my hand, walk me through what I want to do today. So I'm going to go to guided tours. I want to create some market trends to share on social media. So I'm going to go here, market trends, and it's going to pop up and say, let's show you where to go next. I'm going to say, okay, show me where. It's going to take me up to research, residential market trends, right there. So let's do some trends for the city of Temecula. Let's spell it right. Temecula, California. Now, a lot of times we get the question, what if I want trends for just a neighborhood? You have to keep in mind it's got to have enough listing activity to actually create trends. So, I mean, if it's a larger neighborhood, you know, that's a possibility. But if it's kind of a small neighborhood, it's just going to come back and say, you know, there's not enough data. So kind of keep that in mind. But I've got some trends now for Temecula, California. And I mean, these are pretty basic. You know, you could print these out and so forth, create a report. But the reason I opened this up is I'm going to go here to the script writer. Anybody use this yet? Script writer in RPR? Yep, there you go. So I'm going to go here to the script writer. And I'm going to create a little social media card to share. Okay. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my tone. And I'm going to say, I would like it to be conversational with my audience, buyers and sellers. Okay. Then it tells me, here's what all you can do. I could create an article. I could create a social media card, social video, PowerPoint, client email, video script. All kinds of options there. You can only do one at a time. So we are going to do a social media card. And mind you, it's going to do everything for us. So I've got it picked, right? I'm going to go down, create my social card. And it's now going to walk me right through the steps of how I'm going to create that little social card. So I've got my agent information all set, ready to go. You're going to do that in your profile, pretty basic. Then you're going to go step number 2 to choose your background. And there's all kinds of backgrounds there. I'm going to just grab one, okay? Now, step number 3 is share with a caption. See how it's walking me right through? That's my social card so far. Share with caption. And I can narrow that down to single family. I didn't do that, but that's fine. Just so you guys get the idea. So now here's captions that are already set there. I cannot change those. I do have to choose one of those. And I'm going to go ahead and just select one. And then I'm going to say, save and share. So now what it's done is created a nice little social media card for me. And that's going to be in my library here. So there it is right there. Now I'm ready to share that. I can also use the QR code, ready to go. Okay, so jump in there, try it out. And again, if you have questions, you can always reach out. I just want to give you some ideas of what you can do. Here, do you guys think you might use that? Yep. All right, very cool. Now, too, I want to mention there on that property type, I can switch that because right now it's set to single family condo townhouse apartment. Most likely you would say, hey, let me switch that to like just one to single family, narrow that down. So you want to do that before you actually create that card. Okay, any questions there? Jump in there and try RPR. So I'm here now. Yes, so I'm here. I started from my dashboard, right? I put RPR. You guys all remember how to put RPR on your dashboard, okay? I went into RPR. From that homepage, I love those guided tours right there in the middle. And you see where it says market trends. I want to create some shareable market trends. Maybe I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm going to send out a mass email, whatever. I'm going to go into market trends, and then it's going to take me by the hand. It's going to say, okay, here's where you go next. I'm going to say, okay, show me where to go. Up to research. Research, residential market trends. Okay, so you could do a zip. I'll use a zip code there. Let's do a zip code 92886. Then I'm going to switch that up to single family. I'm going to apply that to all my charts. Then I'm going to go to that AI script writer. So right there. Okay. Now, maybe you don't want to use that script writer as long as I'm here. See that share option to the right? There's a share option there as well. Maybe I just want to go ahead and share out this basic market trends chart here. That's an option too. So if I go down to the very bottom of the page there, there's my share options. If I click more, I can create a JPEG or a portable network graph, a little graphic from that. Sure. Oh, it's all down there. See that? It goes on down. There's lots of trends down there. So see, as I go down, you've got new listings. And I mean, it's going back for 3 years. I could switch it up to 1 year to make that so it's not so crazy looking. And then I can just share out that one individual chart. I mean, so there's all kinds of data here to share. So really, you could share something different every day. So if you're looking for statistics to share, RPR is right here, right? And it's created by the National Association of Realtors. So it's a trusted source for data. So you've got new listings, active listings, new pending, all kinds of charts there. So you can really break it down. Month supply of inventory, sold public records as well. Okay. All right, so that's RPR, Realtors Property Resource. How about adding a floor plan to your listings? What would we use for that? Cubicasa, there you go. So you guys, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a floor plan on your listings. Because honestly, people want to visualize the layout of that house. Pictures are great. I love pictures. But I also want to see, how's it going to fit for my family? Does my furniture fit? Grab that Cubicasa app. It's as easy as going to the App Store, downloading Cubicasa, get your account set up, and you're just walking around with your phone kind of pointed at the floorboard. Take you 5 minutes to walk through the house, do a scan, and if it's under 5,000 square feet, there's no charge for the floor plan. Okay. All right. What's that? Oh, yeah, so that's for 2D. 3D is a charge. You're absolutely right. I don't want to talk about charges. I just want to talk about the free stuff. I love the 3D, right? How about virtual staging? Digitally enhanced photos. How would you create those here from the dashboard? What tool do you have? Anybody? Reimagine Home right here. And remember, there are specific rules in regards to those digitally enhanced photos. But if you want to go in there and check this out, y'all get 30 credits per month. So if I have maybe a property that, that I want to kind of enhance those photos, you can use Reimagine Home, enhance those photos, and you do have to have the original photos side by side with that digitally enhanced photo. But this is a really easy program. Okay? I'm not going to dive in there because I only have a few minutes left, right? All right. What else do we have? Realist Tax. Have you all used Realist Tax before? So Realist Tax provides you the property information, all APNs across the state of California. Right? So that's a program that's probably going to be used quite often. If you have not gone in there, taken a class, etc., Realist Tax is also available. So if I go back in Matrix, I think I had a window open here. Let's go back in there. So notice when I am in the Matrix program, I can get to Realist Tax directly from there as well. Okay, so I've got my font pretty large, but this takes you into Realist Tax. No, I don't need a survey, but there's also stats here. All right. What do you use when you're out in the field for searching on your mobile app? Anybody using the CRMLS app? Okay. So that's the app that you have available. Go into your app store, look for the CRMLS app, download that app, log in with the same user ID and password that you use to log into your MLS, and you're available to search on the app. You can share the app with clients. Okay, so that's a great tool as well. All right. I'm going to take you over to the left side menu over here. Getting ready to wrap up, guys. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. But on the left side menu, let's open that up. I'm going to drop you down under quick links to education. I just want to point out where our webinars are located here. See if we can get that to open up. Let's go here. All right. So here are the webinars. How many of you all take webinars from CRMLS? Okay. Typically, we have 2 per day. And the webinar schedule, what today is the 7th already. So there's one on down payment resource. You've got a lot of great webinars that are coming up. If you are an agent that does leases, we have Rent Spree. That's your online screening tool. Also have a new tool associated with Rent Spree, which is Rent Edge. So that is the 9th. You might want to grab that one. Right, let's take you back. So that's on that left side. I just dropped down under quick links to education. And then the last thing I want to mention, 2 more things actually, our YouTube channel's down here. And all of our sessions have been recorded. So any of those tools that we just talked about, you can always jump in, watch a recording. On the right side, we have support. So if you reach out to support, Shelly's going to come up here in just a moment, but it's going to ask you, would you like to chat with compliance in regards to rules? You have a question, or do you want customer support? Now, when you first came in, there was a flyer out there for Thrive. Thrive is basically something where you can all attend. It's down in Huntington Beach. You can gain some knowledge. It is a pay for couple of days, but there's a flyer out as you first came in. There's a QR code there. If you scan that QR code, you can get $100 off your ticket. So if you're interested, I believe that flyer is still laying out there. All right. How'd we do? Did you learn anything? Anything new? All right. Any questions before Shelly comes up? Yes. What do you guys is more accurate for the, so are you talking about, you're not doing the search yourself, you're letting Cloud CMA do the search? What do you guys think? What's more accurate, RPR or Cloud CMA? So RPR reaches out and grabs those comps. But you remember, you have to put in the criteria for the, I mean, I can't really, I'm not a realtor, so I'm not one to say. Yes. RPR. Anybody else want to chime in? What's more accurate for the comparables? CMA in Matrix? Yep. On both of them. Yeah. Yeah.
But you still have to put yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? I don't think we really answered your question. I think it all depends on, I mean, for Cloud CMA, most agents are going to do their search in matrix so they can really drill in. And then they're going to take those comparables over to Cloud CMA because Cloud CMA is kind of all over the place, right? You got to narrow it down. But let me ask you, when you go in to search for your comps, do you use that map search and draw that radius around? Right on. Anybody else?
Question. Yeah, I have a quick question. I'm not very good at this kind of stuff, so I can call you guys anytime if I need help setting something up.
Yep, you know that customer support is right down there. And if you want to just shoot me an email, we could jump on a Zoom together. My email is Jane, Jane, at CRMLS.org.
Perfect. Thank you very
And I'll
much.
drop you a card as well. But feel free, guys, if you want to do a quick one-to-one, you're like, hey, talked about so much stuff. I just want to do a quick Zoom with you. I'd be glad to. All right. So we're getting the boot. Oh, and our YouTube channel. Yep. Right down here. There you go.
Just
Very
one
good. Yep.
more quick question, Jan, if you would. Could you
Sure.
show one more time? I put my head down and missed it. Did you start at the very top to get to the webinar courses?
Oh, it's over here.
How'd you get to those?
On the left side, open up that menu, then drop on down to education.
I mean, up there where they're, okay.
And it's right down there to the webinars.
I'm missing that one that you showed on the left-hand side. How'd
Oh,
do
you just open up that menu on the left side there. Over here.
that? Oh,
You
okay.
just open that up.
Okay.
There you go.
All righty. I got it. Thank you.
Yep. All right. All right, guys. Thank you. Real quick.
All right, next, let's introduce our next instructor, Shelly Walsh. If we can give her a round of applause while she's walking up. So a little about Shelly is she is the Education and Resource Supervisor for the Compliance Department at CRMLS. Shelly has been with the CRMLS for 7 years, where she started with CRMLS as a compliance analysis. Shelly practiced real estate from 2013 to 2019. She has also worked as an escrow officer and notary public. Shelly provides presentations to CRMLS users at brokerages and AORs, both in person and online, to educate users on how to avoid being in violation of the CRMLS rules. The fun fact about Shelly is she's looking forward to a trip to Italy this summer with her 2 grown sons. How fun. We're just going to get her set up really quick and then she'll take it over.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I know Jane gave you a lot of information and I'm going to give you a lot more. It's going to be a little bit different, but because we're on limited time today, if you can save your questions till the end, maybe just jot them down. We'll see how much time we've got to get those answered. Not like Jane, you're welcome to email me either through our training email or through my personal email. So I'll give you all of that at the end. So today we are going to talk about the compliance top violations that we encounter on a very regular basis in the compliance department. I'm also going to talk a little bit about our clear cooperation policy, along with our registered process and the coming soon status. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. My voice is a little dry. Okay, so we are the nation's most recognized MLS. We currently have a little over 91,000 members, and we do have 37 participating associations or AORs. Now, these associations are important when in just in a few minutes I talk about where our rules come from. So if you need to reach compliance, you are going to go where Jane showed you. You could reach education at the top. That's the same place that you can reach compliance, or you can reach us here on your dashboard off to the left-hand side by clicking on compliance. Yes. That one? Okay. You're welcome. Okay, so again, 2 ways to reach compliance. If you click on this button over on the left, either one of those is going to take you into the compliance portion of our website. And there you're going to find all sorts of good information and lots of resources that are available to you regarding our rules and anything compliance related. So here you're going to find some of the forms that I'll be mentioning today. You can also find a full set of our rules and policies, our citation policy, the way that you can connect to us via live chat. So compliance does not take inbound phone calls. We have to keep all of our communications in writing, but we do offer you an online chat. Now you are talking with real live people. You're not going to be speaking with some sort of a bot system. It is all of our compliance analysts that man that chat. And so pretty much you're always going to get your answer or question resolved, or they'll get back to you, or a supervisor will get back to you with whatever information it is that we need to answer to help you out with. Okay, so where do our rules come from? So initially, a lot of our rules are based on model rules that have already been developed by CAR and NAR, but then we have additional rules in our rule set that have been proposed by the CRMLS Rules Committee. So going back to those 37 associations, each of them have one member that is an MLS Rules Committee member, and collectively they get together every other month with some of our compliance people and other people within CRMLS, and they bring to the table anything that they want to discuss that's rules related. So maybe they want to bring to the table an idea for a new rule, maybe they want to talk about revising an existing rule. Maybe they want to talk about removing a rule. We do get requests to remove some of our rules. This is also the committee that determines whether or not a rule comes with a warning or not, and also the fine amount that is attached to a rule in the event that a citation is ever issued. So once they have something that they want to move forward with, they move that over, they send it over to our CRMLS Board of Directors for their final review, and then they let us know if there's been any changes made, anything new that comes along. They let compliance know that, and then it's our job at that point to enforce those rules. Okay, so here is a screenshot of our citation policy. Pretty simple to read. The first column is the rule number. The second column is if the rule comes with a warning or not. The third column is a summary of the rule. And then the fourth column is the fine amount that would be attached to a citation in the event that you ever did receive one. So if we receive a report and the rule that applies comes with a warning, we are going to reach out to you and most likely ask you to either make a correction to your listing or to provide us with additional documentation so that we can review it and determine whether or not a violation has actually occurred. We are going to give you 2 days to either make that correction or respond with that documentation. And if we don't hear back from you or the correction is not made, then we will move forward at that point and issue a citation. If we receive a report and the rule that applies does not come with a warning, then you're not going to have that opportunity to make that correction or provide us with that additional documentation. Instead, you will just receive a citation if a violation can be verified. In either case, if you ever do receive a citation from us, you cannot ignore it. You do need to take some sort of action on it. Otherwise, if you just completely ignore it, you could ultimately find yourself suspended from the MLS until it is resolved. So please don't ever ignore any communications that you receive from us. Come into live chat, and we are happy to tell you, what occurred. If you don't understand what occurred, then we are happy to explain that to you and to let you know what your options are. But if you do receive a citation, like I said, you do have to take some sort of action. So you have 2 choices. You can either agree to pay the fine and then move on, and you're all done. Or you can submit what's called a citation review request. And so this is kind of like the equivalent of an appeals process. So you have to do one of these 2 things within 20 calendar days. If you wait until after 20 calendar days, then you don't have any recourse and you're going to be stuck just paying the fine. But going back to the citation review request process, so this is a form that you can find under compliance on our website. And you're going to fill out all of the mandatory fields. You're going to send it back to us in compliance electronically. And we do 2 things at that point once we receive it. Number 1, we take the fine amount that was originally attached to that citation, and we temporarily withdraw it. And then the second thing that we do is we take your form that you've completed, we package that up with all of our case notes and any evidence that led us to issue that citation. We send all of that over to your association for whatever designated committee that they have on their end to review the packet and determine whether or not we rightfully issued that citation. So if that committee upholds our citation and says that yes, that was correctly issued, they will let us know that, and then we reinstate that invoice at that point. There is a fee for this. It is not a CRMLS fee. It's a fee that your association charges. So if you just want to have your citation review reviewed like paper-wise, they're just going to read the information, then that's a $100 fee that they charge for their designated committee to do that. You are also welcome to have a virtual hearing, and that's a $200 fee. But there you would speak with someone from our department. Sometimes it's our co-legal counsel, someone from the association, et cetera. So that fee is also going to be added onto the invoice in the event that the invoice is, or that the citation is upheld. So like I said, if you don't do anything, you don't either pay the fine or submit this citation review request, then you could be eligible for suspension from the MLS. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. Okay, moving on to the top violations that we're going to talk about today. The first one has to do with photos, media, and copyright issues. This primarily leans toward branding. So your listings cannot contain any branding. And branding basically is considered to be any identifiable information that identifies you, leads back to you as the listing agent or your brokerage, or if you're a team, you have a team. So none of your media, photos, or virtual tours can contain any of the things shown here on the screen. The biggest offender that we see here has to do with for sale signs that are in photos that have been uploaded. So your yard sign's already up. You go out, your photographer goes out to take that exterior photo that's required, and there's all your contact information on your yard sign. So any of those photos will be taken down. It's a no warning, and it's a $250 fine. So please make sure that you're reviewing everything before you make your listing active. When it comes to virtual tours, same thing. All of these things are not allowed in your virtual tours. I know when I was practicing real estate, I got a notice from CRMLS that my virtual tour contained branding, and I didn't understand why. Well, what happened was my yard sign was up, the videographer panned the property, and if you stopped the video, there was my contact information. So be mindful of that. Branding can also consist in a virtual tour of sometimes at the end of a virtual tour, we'll see like a pop-up that says for more information about this property, contact, and there's the agent's contact information. That's considered branding. It can also be considered branding if the agent is in the virtual tour. So some agents like to have the tour open, they introduce themselves, they introduce the property, even if they don't say their name. By them being in the virtual tour, it's considered to be branding. So it's not to say that you can't be in your virtual tours, you can, but you do have to have a separate URL for that branded virtual tour. And in a few minutes, I'll show you exactly where you can enter that separate URL. When it comes to images of people or animals on the MLS, if you just avoid it, then you'll always be in compliance. If you find that you must have people or animals, talking about people, number one, any images of children will be immediately removed from the MLS for security purposes, obvious purposes. But if you have to have people in your images, as long as they're not identifiable, so maybe they're far enough away from the camera, no one would be able to recognize who they are, their back is turned, those would probably be okay. When it comes to animals, as long as the animal makes sense that it would be either on that property or relatable to that property, farmhouse style, maybe there's a barn, makes sense that animals would be in the barn or be in an arena or a stall, that's probably going to be okay too. But easiest thing to do is to just not include them and then you don't have to worry about it. So here's an example of people. This would be an acceptable photo because none of these people would be able to be identified. This also would be acceptable because there is absolutely really no faces showing here. No one would be able to recognize them. These would not be acceptable. Now, the one on the right, obviously, those people are way too close to the camera. If someone knew who they were, they could easily identify them. The picture on the left, the example on the left, this has two things. Number one, the faces are clearly identifiable. Number two, there are children in those photos. So one thing to keep in mind is when you or your photographer are taking photos of the interior of maybe a family room, primary bedroom, there could be family portraits on the wall. So be mindful and keep an eye out for that. This would be acceptable as far as animals in photos. This also happens to have people, but they're not identifiable. But this is obviously some sort of a ranch style or a vineyard property. It would make perfect sense for horses to be walking across this property. Same thing here. This is obviously, you can actually see the property for sale if you can capture the property. If you're going to have animals in your photos, that's even better. But this is some sort of a ranch style property. It makes sense for the horses to be grazing in a pasture. What we don't want to see is this. If this were in your photo slide deck, this tells us nothing about the property that's for sale. And same thing here. So this makes no sense because this type of property obviously is not conducive to any sort of livestock. So those would be taken down. Okay, moving on, we're under the same rule, but copyright issues. So copyright issues, it's easiest to just break it down into two parts. Number one is who is the originator or the creator of the content? And number two, do you have the appropriate written authorization to use that content in writing? So we have three different scenarios here. Number one is if you take the photos yourself, do you need written authorization to use those photos on the MLS? No, you don't, because you own those. You don't need anybody's permission to use your own photos. Number two is if a photographer takes the photos on your behalf, do you need written authorization to upload those photos to your listing? Yes, you do. So there is sometimes a misconception that because when you hire a photographer, you most likely are going to pay for those photos. That doesn't mean that you own those photos just because you paid for them. The photographer is the creator or the owner of that content, and they need to provide you with written authorization to use that content in the MLS. So some photographers do already have written authorizations in place. Our department is of the opinion, after reviewing many of these written agreements over the years, that usually those agreements from photographers end up protecting the photographer more than they do the agent. There is a form in zip forms. It's called the PIA, or the Property Images Agreement form. That's a really simple form to use if you don't have any other method of obtaining written authorization. It's a really good form to be aware of. It's fair to both sides. It's very simple to use. There's a place on there for special notes if you want to write in special notes, or your photographer does. Again, it's not required. A required form is just a recommended form. Also, when you're working with a photographer, they do need to provide you with originals. So sometimes photos get passed along. You need to have the originals directly from your photographer. Any written authorization that you do obtain, you don't need to turn that into us. You just need to maintain it in your files so that down the road, if we ever were to ask for it, you do have it. And it also needs to be obtained before you upload any content. So scenario number 3 is if you want to use photos from a previous listing or another website. So in this case, let's say you have a new listing and you go into the MLS, you look to see the last time this property was for sale. Maybe there's some really nice HOA photos that you want to use. you can use those, but you do need to do a little bit of legwork to be able to use those so that you're not in violation. So number one, you need to find out exactly who owns those photos or who was the originator, who took those photos. And number two, you need to get the appropriate written authorization from that person. So if it was the previous listing agent that took those photos with their own phone or camera, then that's who you get the written authorization from, along with the originals. And if it was their photographer, maybe they hired a photographer, then that's who you need to go locate and get the appropriate written authorization and originals from them. So if it was a previous listing agent and they say, yes, no problem, they put it in writing that it's okay for you to use their photos, that does not mean that you can go into that previous listing and take those photos from there, like right click and copy and bring them over. You do have to have the originals. When a photo is uploaded to the MLS in the bottom right corner, I'm sure you've all seen it as a watermark that's generated. That tells us that it's an original photo that's being uploaded to the MLS. So if you were to go to that previous listing, take the photo from there that's already watermarked, you upload it on your new listing, it's going to generate another watermark, and now you've got a double watermark. And when we get reports in compliance that someone's using my photos and I didn't give them their authorization, that's what we look for. First thing is we look for a double watermark. And if it's there and we have to remove those photos, it comes with a $1,500 fine. That's a bigger one. It's one of our bigger violations. So please just don't use any images that you didn't take yourself. Always remember to get the appropriate written authorization and the originals, and you will be in compliance. Same thing goes for third-party images from Google, Bing, Yahoo, or Getty. The same written authorization applies, and it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to reach the appropriate parties for that written authorization, as well as any originals. So that is, you can't do it. The biggest offender that compliance sees here is when an exterior photograph needs to be uploaded, and maybe for whatever reason, no one can get out there to take the exterior photograph. Agents do go into Google and pull up that Google Street View, and they upload that as their as their exterior photo. That again is a $1,500 fine. So please don't use any of those. There's certain ways that we can tell. I mean, I don't know if you know that Google has like a watermark of their own. Some agents try and crop out certain parts of a photo and claim that it's theirs, that they took it. There's lots of different ways to identify a third-party image. So again, if you just do it correctly, then you're always going to be in compliance. So the bottom highlighted box there, that is an example of what a double watermark looks like. They're not always that obvious. Sometimes they overlap much closer, so they almost look like a shadow, but again, double watermarks are prohibited. This is the property images agreement form. It is in zip form, so if you don't have any other way of obtaining written authorization for photos you didn't take, this is a good form to have. Again, it's not required, it's just recommended. Okay, we're under the same rule, but it is a rule, it's point 1 of this rule. So this has to do with your exterior photograph requirement. So when you upload a new listing, within 2 calendar days of uploading that listing, you are required to upload at least one photo of the exterior of the property. It does have to be a substantial portion of the property, so it can't just be a little snippet of the property. We want to see as much as possible. This photo does need to stay on the listing at all times for all statuses. So you always have to have an exterior photo on your listing, regardless of the status. If you close escrow, if the listing expires, you withdraw it, you always have to leave at least that one exterior photo. There's only 2 exceptions to this requirement. One of them is if your listing cancels within the first 2 calendar days after you've entered it, then we're not going to require an exterior photo. And the other exception is if your listing is a business opportunity listing. So sometimes they're selling just a business, not necessarily a building with the business. So there might not really be anything to take a photo of in that case. So we're not going to require it for business opportunity listings. So here's what's considered to be a substantial portion of the exterior of the property. Obviously, the one on the left shows us the entire property. The one on the right, condos and townhomes can be a little harder to grasp a substantial portion. So this example right here would suffice as a substantial portion for those types of properties. However, these would not be acceptable. So these just basically show us a front door on each one of these. The one on the far left, without the address being there, sometimes in condo complexes, everything looks cookie cutter. And so we can't guarantee that the photo that's being uploaded, if we were to use one like this, is the unit that's actually being sold. So again, substantial portion, and you'll always be in compliance. Okay, moving on to inaccurate information and auto sold status. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure that everything you're entering into your listing is as accurate as possible, and that you've done your due diligence to make sure that the information you're entering is accurate. This applies to a lot of different things. It applies to the status of the listing. It applies to the features of the property. So when you're entering a listing and you have that features page where there's all those boxes of information about the property that you can check, make sure you're taking your time going through there and doing that. What we see here, believe it or not, are very simple things. Sometimes bedroom and bathroom, the numbers get transposed. We see on the lot size, acreage accidentally gets selected instead of square footage, if that's not the case. Map pin location. Inaccurate map pin is one of the larger offenders that we see here, and also area, inaccurate area being selected. Another inaccuracy that it could be, like I said, is the status of the listing. So we do on occasion, actually on quite frequently, we get buyer's agents that make a report that they're under contract on a property and the listing agent has not changed the status yet from active to either active under contract or pending. So we would reach out to them and ask them to make that change. This rule for inaccuracies does come with a warning. So we are going to give you those 2 days to make any corrections to your listing. This also has to do with auto sold status. So auto sold happens when, let me back up. Auto sold occurs when an offer has been accepted on a listing and the listing agent does go in to change the status of the property to either active under contract or pending. There's going to be a mandatory field for them to enter as the estimated close of escrow date. So when you enter this date, you do have to remember what this date is and you have to pay attention to it as it approaches, because auto sold happens when you've entered that date and then that date isn't updated and 5 days pass beyond that date. At that point, the system is going to close out your listing and put you into auto sold status. And you are going to have to come to us because it's going to lock you out of your listing. So you're going to have to come to compliance and we're going to send you to our website to one of those forms, to an auto sold correction form. You're going to have to fill that out and send it back to us. It could take an amount of time, not a whole lot of time, but you want to get back into your listing. So we're going to correct that for you, put the listing back into the appropriate status. You're going to know that you're in auto sold not only because you're locked out of your listing, but now your status is going to show this red flag and it's going to say closed. So we try and help you remember that that date is approaching. And so we start sending you email notifications 14 days before whatever the date is that you've entered. We send another one 7 days before, 1 day before, the day of, 2 days after, and 5 days after. On day 6, if you still haven't corrected that date, then we're going to send a citation this time instead of just an email. Okay, misuse of public remarks. So this is your property description field. Remember that this is a public-facing field. There's certain information that should not be privy to the public out there. It's including all the things mentioned here. No gate codes should be in here, not for communities or for individual homes. No showing instructions. So we have had agents put showing instructions in here indicating when the sellers are and are not going to be home. If that got out to the public, that could be a bad thing. No compensation information, obviously. No lockbox information. Please don't note the location of the lockbox in here because we just don't want to be pointing out where the keys to the property are. There's other fields that most of these things can go into, whether it's your showing instructions or your private remarks. These would be okay in any of those. Please don't note in here that the property is vacant. Please don't put any email addresses, phone numbers, agent or brokerage contact information in here. So 2 things. It could lead to branding, or it also could be an unfair advantage. So if you're a buyer's agent and you're sending listings out and the listing agent, if we allow the listing agent to put their contact information in these public remarks, well, now the buyer has the contact information. They could call them directly. It just doesn't create for a very fair playing field. So one of the reasons why we don't allow it. Open house information, there is a special field for that. And then no language that violates applicable fair housing guidelines. So on our website under compliance, if you go into something called our knowledge base, and I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier. So on compliance, there is that page where all of these forms are out. There's a button for something called knowledge base. And when you click on knowledge base, it's going to give you a search bar and you can type in anything you want and it's going to bring up all the resources we have on that topic. So if you go to knowledge base, click on that and type in fair housing, it's going to pull up a list that we have under compliance under knowledge base that is broken down. We've accumulated some words and terms over the years, and we've put together a list of these have been determined to be okay. These we've determined you might want to be careful using, and these we've determined that you probably really shouldn't use these. This is not a list from the Fair Housing Department. It's just a list that we have accumulated over the years as a guideline for you. If you want specifics and for sure information, then we recommend that you contact Fair Housing. Okay, so where are you allowed to market yourself? So the syndication remarks field, this is going to copy whatever you put in your property description field, but here you are allowed to enter things such as your phone number, if you have a link to a website, email addresses. This is where you would put all of that. So this is going to get syndicated out. This is going to get syndicated out to the third parties. And this is all that we can do for you at this point, because when it gets syndicated out on those third parties, if they have filters on their ends that maybe block phone numbers or block websites, that's out of our hands, but we do give you the opportunity here to try and get that information to slip through out there. The bottom field is going back to that branded virtual tour, the one that I said you had to have a separate URL for. So this is where you would enter that URL if you want to have a branded virtual tour. And then the last rule is failure to correct a violation. So in the event that you do receive a citation, and within that citation, we had asked you to make a correction to your listing and the correction wasn't made, we do move forward and issue a second citation. And this citation is for failing to correct the first citation when you received that one. So within this citation, we are going to ask you one more time to please make a correction to your listing. So going back to compliance's job, our job is to maintain the accuracy within the MLS as much as possible. So that's why we want you to make these corrections so that everybody's dealing with accurate information. So again, if you don't make the correction after you receive this second citation, we are not going to issue anything else to you, but we will issue your broker of record or your office manager a citation for failing to supervise, and they're going to get a no warning citation for $250. For failing to supervise you. So how this comes about is all of the previous communications that we sent to you, they were copied on. And so they should know that we are trying to reach you and that we're not getting any cooperation back, and they should be reaching out to you to get this resolved. If the broker chooses to not pay this citation, then they could find themselves eligible for suspension from the MLS as well. And if the broker loses their access, or if they get suspended from the MLS, anyone who operates under that broker's license also loses their access from the MLS. So no one ever wants it to get to that point. It's not very often that it does, but it has happened. So if there's any questions, anything at all that we can help you with to help you understand anything better about any of the communication you receive from us, please reach out via live chat. We are very open to you being proactive, because if you wait till you hear from us, it's probably not a good thing. So if you're not sure about something, reach out in chat and we're happy to help you out. All right, moving on to mandatory delivery and submission of listings. So this is where our clear cooperation policy comes in. Basically, what this rule says is that if you have a valid listing agreement and you are not going to enter that listing into the MLS for a period of time or for the entire duration of the listing agreement, you cannot market that property to the public while it is excluded. So this policy only applies to residential 1 through 4 units or residential vacant lot and land listings. And it's easy to remember. It's basically, again, 2 parts. So you cannot advertise and market. That's one part to the public. So advertising and marketing would be considered all of the things here. And then the public, the best way to try and remember this is that if you just think of the public as being everyone, there's only 2 exceptions as to who you are allowed to market an excluded listing to. The first is if you have a client that within the last 12 months has signed the AD form with you, they are not considered to be a member of the public and you are able to market an excluded property to them. The second is another agent under your same broker's license. So if there's another agent, most likely in the same office, but some brokers have multiple offices, but it's under the same license. If there's another agent, you are allowed to market that property to that agent. So here is how the whole process works, and this is where registered comes in. So I'm going to go forward and then I'm going to go back. Registered is a process. It is not a status within the MLS. Registered listings are not in the MLS. You don't need to concern yourself with the registered process unless you're excluding a property. If you're not excluding a property, then registered does not apply to you. But let's say for these purposes, you have a listing agreement, you have an exclusion form signed because maybe you're going to start showing the property in 10 days. So within 2 days of the effective list date of your listing agreement, you have to take that excluded listing and register it with us. You do so by going to your dashboard on the left-hand side where I showed you could click on compliance. You can click on registered listings there. And you're just going to have to put in, I think it's about 8 fields of information from the listing agreement. It's very simple. It's not like entering a full listing. And you're going to determine then there's a field whether or not you are going to market it at some point. So your start showing date, you'll have to indicate that. And you have the opportunity at this point, once you're finished with this process, you can either send it over to the MLS at that time if you are going to market it later, and it will land in your incomplete listings, and it'll sit there until you go in and take it along just like you would any other listing. Or you can come back at whatever point you want to into the registered portal, and you can forward it at a later time. So let's say that you have this listing, you've entered it as a registered listing into the portal, but while it's in there, you marketed it to the public. Well, it's in there because it's excluded and you can't market an excluded property to the public. But if you did, then unfortunately, you're going to have 1 business day to go into the registered portal, take it out, send it to the MLS, and give it a status of coming soon or active. Okay, to wrap up registered, there's no public marketing. They're not displayed in the MLS because they're not in the MLS. The only people that can see registered listings in the portal are the listing agent, their broker or office manager, and our staff. The days active in MLS does not accrue. That doesn't start until you give the listing a status of active. They don't get distributed through the MLS. The showings are only to those with an AD form, and then the form that's required is an exclusion form. Moving on to coming soon status. So coming soon has completely different characteristics for the most part than registered listings do. So coming soon is a status within the MLS. So it is going to populate with certain search criteria. You are allowed to market coming soon listings. But the marketing does have to have two things. It needs to indicate the words coming soon, and it also needs to indicate what your intended start showing date is. They, as I said, they are displayed in the MLS. The days active in MLS isn't going to accrue again until the listing goes active. The form that's required is a coming soon form. And then you can only use this status for 21 days. So beyond 21 days, you're going to have to make your listing active. If at day 21, your coming soon is not ready to go active, you do have the option to place it on hold at that point. But whether hold or coming soon, there are no showings allowed while you're in either one of those statuses. So you are allowed to market, but you are not allowed to show the property while it has a status of coming soon. If the property can be determined to have been shown, then within 1 business day, it's going to have to go active. Once you leave the status of coming soon, you cannot go back to it. It's not like other statuses where you can flip back and forth. Once you leave the status of coming soon, we're not able to put it back for you. So if you're going to be leaving it, changing the status, make sure that you're ready to do so. Here's the coming soon form. This can be found on the compliance page. If you don't have this form and we ask for it for whatever reason down the road, it is a no warning $750 fine if you put in a listing as coming soon and did not have this form signed. This form now has a follow-up. It's a limited exposure. So the seller at this point does have the option during coming soon to not have their coming soon listing syndicated. I'm going to get into some of the more recent changes, but the seller does have the option. I'll cover that in just a second. So the citation policy or the citation fine for the violations relating to registered, marketing, excluded listing, they started as a 1% of the list price, but CRMLS set some parameters. So the fines are pretty hefty on these clear cooperation rules. So $500 is the minimum, and it could go up to $2,500. So please make sure that you're not doing any of those things that we just talked about. So what's new? We do have some new rules that have taken effect. So digitally altered images. If you're going to digitally alter your image, you now have to show the original of that image alongside of the digitally altered one. Minor adjustments are okay. You just cannot show here's an example of what would be, and you do have to note what the changes were, if the furniture was virtually removed, if it was virtually staged. And then these are AI generated landscaping images. So do not use any images that are not going to be in place when the property converts to the new buyer. So if, for example, you wipe out, let's say, telephone poles, high wire lines in the backyard, well, those are going to be there when the buyer buys the house. And so things like that are not going to be in place, you cannot remove from the photos. Coming soon listings, these used to not be syndicated out. They are syndicated out now. So that's what I was saying, is that there is now a form that goes along with the coming soon form where the seller has the option while the listing is in coming soon to not have their coming soon listing syndicated out. So if that's the case, they don't want it syndicated until it goes active, then you need to make sure that you fill out that form. That form can be found on the compliance page on our website. And then removal of photos from third-party sites. So when a listing now with CRMLS goes into a finalized status, all photos that on the third-party sites are removed. The only photo that's going to show is the primary photo. The photos are going to remain within the MLS, but to the public, there's only going to be one photo shown. It's going to be the primary photo on your listing. So if your primary photo is not the exterior photo of the property, if it's a living room photo, then that's what's going to show. So make sure that your primary photo is something that you want out there on your third-party sites. And then to wrap up, resources. So if you're a broker, these are some of the resources we have available to you. We have a dedicated support number. We have a monthly broker newsletter. We have complimentary trainings and presentations for your office. Jane talked about the education opportunities out there. Again, all the webinars on all of the products that are available to you, the YouTube channel with all of the pre-recordings, good to know about. Support. So this is our customer care department. So they do answer the phone when you call. They are there to help you with pretty much everything that you may need help with. Compliance-wise, they're limited on what they can and can't do. They're probably going to end up referring you to us, but they are available pretty much for everything else. They are now available that time is not right. So on weekends, they're now available starting at 8:30 to 5. So they're there 7 days a week for you. So you're not stuck alone if you're having trouble maybe entering your listing or your password's not working or you have any questions at all. They are available 7 days a week. That's the phone number there. And then compliance. So again, our job is to make sure that the data within the MLS is as accurate as possible. So we will reach out on any inaccuracies and ask you to please make those corrections. We're available Monday through Friday, live chat 8:30 to 4. And one of the things that I like to point out is that when it comes to compliance, we only investigate reports that we receive. We do not come in, we don't have a practice of coming in the morning and opening up the MLS and going to look for violations. We do not do that. We simply investigate any reports that we receive. All reports are anonymous, all reports are opened and investigated. And all reports are anonymous. And then also, if you want to reach us, in addition to via live chat, this is our email address. Again, please be proactive. If you have questions about something, maybe are my public remarks okay, or is this photo in compliance, anything at all, we are open. We would much rather have you reach out to us than us having to reach out to you. So that's all that I have. I think we have a few minutes for questions. Yes.
Thank you. So when you were talking about earlier about getting the fine and not ignoring it, will you guys, so if we were to get fined, you would, like, we would receive an email. If we didn't, for some reason, your email kicks back, you don't get it, it goes to junk or something, but would you get a follow-up phone call?
No, as a backup, that's why we notify your broker, and if you have an office manager, that's why they get the backup. Yeah, we don't follow up.
So regarding the coming soon status, if you have a client that, has an estate sale and listing the property is really 2 months out, what are listing agents doing? Do you get the contract signed, and then you have the 21 days? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, you would have to get an exclusion form.
Okay.
It
So
sounds like it would be an exclusion form situation where yes, then you would register the property.
I guess I'm also asking everybody else, do you just wait and not get the contract signed and do the work and then sign it after all you've? Okay. Well, because I've heard the opposite. So I was like, I'm not working for free. Okay. But then you'd still have to do these.
It's the effective date of the listing agreement. It's the effective date of the listing agreement. And in that case, you wouldn't have to register that property because it's not effective until August 29th. Question?
Okay, I had to cancel a listing last week. We're going to put it back on the market in about 3 or 4 weeks. And I use the same photos without getting permission from the photographers because I have them, they're mine anyway.
It depends on what the written authorization states. Does it state a time period that you're allowed to use those photos? Does it state that you can use them indefinitely? It depends on how that is worded from your photographer.
I have a question about back to the photographer. So when you're inputting the listing on the office tab, at the bottom right, it has a spot to enter your photographer's MLS number or name, I guess.
So you're talking about the pre-approved photographers?
That's what I'm asking. What is that? Because he's asked me to do that, but I didn't know. Did they register with you and something? What does that mean?
Yeah, so they have been, for lack of a better term, pre-approved by us. So if you choose one of them for your photographers, then their membership, so to speak, with us allows the written authorization to not have to take place because it's already in relationship with us. The only caveat to that is that photographer has to be the one to upload those photos to the listing. Yeah. So they were staged. So the whole home. If they have been digitally altered, you're going to have to put a photo. A photo of what of what it looks like now. Staging is considered to be, it's altered. Oh, the home was staged. I'm sorry. Yeah, as long as you caption it, that the home was, you have to caption each picture that was virtually staged. I don't mean virtual. You have to just caption that the home was staged. So if it's a living room and it's staged, you have to put that the photo is staged. All photos have to be captioned if it's not the true, because those don't exist anymore, right? Because the seller lives in it. So you would have to note that that's not the current basically condition of the property, that these were staged photos. I can't advise you what to do, but all I can tell you is that if you do put it on hold, hold has a maximum of 30 days. You have to what's the word I'm looking for? You have to put it on hold every 30 days. You're gonna have to go in, otherwise it's gonna revert back. And you cannot show the property while it's on hold. Yeah, you can market it, but you can't show it.